After a disappointing defeat of the Super Eagles by the host nation, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigerians back home have been mulling their shock and sadness. Ivory Coast's success seems they've added to this year's title to those claimed in 1992 and 2015, while this win also allows them to join Nigeria on 3 Cup of Nations triumphs overall. Spearheaded by reigning African Player of the Year, Osimhen, the Nigerians had looked the most formidable team in the competition over the last month. But Ivory Coast's sense of destiny was simply too overpowering as they became the first host country to win the AFCON since 2006. Joining us now is Peter Rufai, former Super Eagles goalkeeper and captain, and Charles Ojugbana, Nigerian sports journalist. Good morning and welcome to the morning show. Mr. Ojugbana, welcome.
Well, Mr. Ojugbana, just before you joined us. Ruben. Yes, Mr. Ojugbana, thank you for joining us. Just before you joined us, we've been expressing our views on the performance of the Super Eagles. And we had congratulated the Ivorians for, winning the trophy this time around. But what do you think? Did we do well? Could we have done better?
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. Good morning. Good morning, Ayo. I don't know if Rufai is there, but if you are, good morning.
Morning.
Irrepressible Rufai. Well, if you ask my personal opinion, I will say that the boys did very well. But any day, if you ask me to choose between silver and gold, I'll go for gold. Because in sports, it's only the gold medalist that mounts the rostrum. It's the gold medalist that has his anthem played. It's the gold medalist that has the national flag raised. It's the gold medalist that have all the paparazzi of cameramen and media attention on. And you can go on and on and on and on. Before the game yesterday, I think there was a consensus among the sporting world that that trophy was Nigeria's for the taking. But a lot of things happened, and I've listened to some of the analysis you guys have made, including from Bayron and Abidjan. I personally think that that team that played last night was flat-footed. There gets to a point where luck cannot carry you beyond. If you really do an analytical study of the way the Super Eagles played from the group games to the round of 16 and quarterfinal, semi-final, you will see that something didn't really quite click with the team. The team was not flowing. We were playing with our handbrakes on. And a lot of things were responsible for that. First, like Ruben said, the midfield of the Nigerian Super Eagles in this tournament was simply not there. If you ask me, a player like Alex Iwobi, with the pedigree, with the experience he has had playing for teams like Arsenal and all whatnot, he didn't do anything to justify the amount of confidence he had. He was giving away wayward passes. He was supposed to be the cohesive glue for the team. He was supposed to be the Modric, or if you like, the Odegaard, the man whose one pass was equals to 3/4 of a goal. But they were simply not there. And you saw that the Ivorians were not only prepared, they also had the advantage of what we call the 12th player. The entire 60,000 capacity stadium was rooting for only one team. And that was a cauldron of pressure for the Super Eagles. So I think it was a missed opportunity. I think they did very well. But my pain, which I share with the rest of Nigerians, is that it could have been a lot better. Imagine if we had won yesterday. We would have had the bragging rights. You could have had maybe Ayo arriving in Lesotho, and at the airport, they look at a passport. Are you from Nigeria? Oh, you guys play good football. You could have imagined how the Nigerian embassy in Albania, for instance, would have been walking, 1 inch taller. You can imagine, even during these past 2 weeks, you could see how this tournament was a very important aspect of relieving the social tension and pressure we had as a country. Now we lost all that. But for me, the loss is not as important as the way forward. And I think it's the post-mortem that will determine where we go. In fact, that is why in most cases, those of you that watch the Premiership, you see that after a game has been played, many people do not know. The celebrations come and go, but the players never leave the stadium until they go back to the field and do what they call a warm down. The essence of the warm down is to prevent injuries and to also refocus you immediately right there in the field. In the days of Alex Ferguson in Manchester United, if you were the Super Eagles that lost last night, you would have been at the training pitch 7 a.m. today. Everybody. So the post-mortem is more important. Luck has carried us thus far, but we have loads of issues with our sports and football administration. And I think that is where we need to focus our attention.
Right, so football administration, and like you've mentioned, Mr. Ojugbana, we'd actually talked about this earlier. I think a question was posed around how do we sustain the momentum when we're winning, especially following the South Africa game, that following this tournament, most of the players would go back to base, those who are homegrown players will come back home. But that cohesion has always been a big challenge, especially for the Nigerian football team. How can we fix that issue? Because we have another opportunity next year to redeem ourselves, hopefully, and get that gold. But how do we work towards that? And then do you think we should sustain or maintain the coach for next year's tournament?
Well, I personally do not believe in the syndrome of a foreign-based national coach for the Super Eagles. It just does not work. Sports is a conveyor belt. Like you said, AFCON 2023, that's actually what it was, even though it was played in 2024, has come and gone. What is next? Who are you looking at? You can't be telling me that for the next competition next year it has to be the same Ola, the same Osai, the same what's called our goalkeeper Nwabali and so on. Yes, they may still be there, but there has to be clear, intentional competition given to them so that we bring out even the best in them, and we also give an opportunity to those who want to come and make a mark and die for the country on the field of football. Now, in terms of talking about a conveyor belt, I am an advocate of the fact that the homegrown players in Nigeria today have no future. We have taken away, their motivation to be better players. The National League is unheard of. If I ask any one of you here, what was the score of the match yesterday between maybe Rangers and 3SC? Very few people know about it. Very few people know that the matches are going on. Very few people know what stage of the league Nigeria is. Now, that is a place that should be, the backbone of, or the feeder team of the Super Eagles. And then, in terms of national coaching, we used to have a very thriving home-based Super Eagles. In those days, even when the foreign-based ones come, usually they organize the football match between the home-based and the foreign, and then you see the younger home-based ones trying, and a few of them actually make the mark and are selected. But these days, you have a coach who is based outside Nigeria. You have 22 players who are based in 18 different leagues in the world, and then 1 week to the time, you assemble them in Dubai, and then you fly them to Ivory Coast. There is something missing. The cohesion is not there. And I believe that beyond the Nigerian Professional Football League, we also need to go back to the basics. What happened to the grassroots football, the Greater Tomorrow, the Principal Cup, the Academicals? We need to go back because that is where the talents are. And like I said, as it is in Nigeria today, no matter your talent in football, it's going to rot and remain in Nigeria. You are most likely only going to be able to break into the Super Eagles if you have a scout who smuggles you out to play in Belgium or to play in Moldova or somewhere. That's the only time you're noticed. And that is wrong. That is wrong. We need to change it. And that perception has been ongoing for a while. And I do not know why the Nigerian Football Federation should engage a coach and not hold his feet to the fire. Westerhoff in those days used to watch league matches. He used to know the players. He used to visit their parents. He knew what, and when the time was ripe, of course, he brings the foreign-based players to merge with what he has. But right now, it's a problem. And look at the Ivorian team. Look at the South African team. Look at the South African PSL. Look at even the Zambian Football League. They are all on DSTV. So there is a lot that needs to be done. Really, really a lot. We need to go back to the basics.
Okay. I mean, I'm so excited. You said a lot today. And look at the South African team. I'm happy you said that. Look at the South African team. And I say it again, look at the South African team. 8 of those players, starting lineup in South Africa, the likes of them, Evidence Makopa and the other ones, they all played in a certain team in the South African league. That's the viability of the league. That was a league that was not even doing as well as our own league when we had the days of Coca-Cola Challenge Cup in this country. So what happened to our league? Secondly, look at Clemens Westerhoff, that will always go and discover all the talent. Keshi still had that spirit. That's why the likes of Sunday Obada that held our midfield was playing in Warri Wolves. The Godfrey Obamas of this one were playing in Sunshine as at then. But we have a tourist coach, as at this point in time. But do we even have the mouth to talk to Pizarro? Have we paid him his salaries? So it's a multivariate, complicated problem. I want you to speak up because all of this are saying Pizarro go. We don't have the mouth to even talk to Pizarro as a nation. Have we paid him up to date? Didn't Genero, like I like to call him, take us to FIFA but he got his money? So who are we as a people?
You actually hit the nail on the head. If you look at the structure of our coaches at the national team level, there's a big missing gap. And like you said, when you employ a coach or a worker and you don't pay him his wages, or you pay him his wages only after he has taken you to the court of sports arbitration or to FIFA, then no good coach will want to look towards your direction. Now, if you talk about the league, like you were saying, and the other aspects of administration, I want to ask you one question, Rufai. Did you notice, this is my personal view, that the best teams in AFCON 24 were Cape Verde, was Congo, was Equatorial Guinea? And people should ask, how come the big powerhouses, Cameroon, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Guinea, Senegal, all of them fell by the wayside? And these minions, as it were, are the ones that seized the opportunity to make a statement. I will tell you the reason behind that. FIFA has 211 member associations, country football federations affiliated to them. FIFA has a program which used to be called the Goal Project. Today is known as the FIFA Forward Project. Now that project gives every affiliated football federation $2 million every year for a 4-year cycle. That means you're going to have $8 million for 4 years for you to choose how best you want to develop your football. A few years back, we had 1 or 2 facilities named Goal Projects in Nigeria, but for me, that is pittance. Cape Verde used their own money judiciously, rebuild their national stadium, organize their local football, and are you surprised that they're playing the way they're playing? What do you want to say about Congo? What do you want to say about Equatorial Guinea? In fact, when they started this project, a few countries, mainly African countries, were guilty of mismanaging those funds. And I'll give you an example with Nigeria, and I want anybody to fact check me. Between the period 2016 to, I think, 2012, $10 million was available for the Nigerian Football Federation to access and improve Nigerian football. Till date, only 50% of that was accessed. And I'm sure you know why. Because FIFA will not release the rest if you have not shown a judicious usage of what has been advanced. FIFA went a step further to ensure that the integrity of the FIFA Forward project is guaranteed and set up an award so that countries who come out with the best facilities for the project are acknowledged. As I speak to you, the #1 country in FIFA Forward project is Armenia. And then followed by, I think, Belarus. Of all countries in the world. But if you go to those places, you see how they reinvented their sports administration. You can use the money to build your football headquarters, for instance. We tried, we built the Sunday Dankaro house, but of course, that is not something you can hold up to anybody to say that, that's a FIFA gold project of note. Some other countries revamped their entire sporting system. Some built, because today football has so many facets. Some invested in doping. Some invested in what they call the elite training camp. And so on and so forth. Some invested in the local league. Some invested in youth football. Some invested in female football. But you ask yourself, okay, how many Nigerians know that this year, Dominican Republic is going to host the female under-17 championship? Nigeria is still in the race. But what is the plan? Where are they training? What are they eating? Which friendly matches have been lined up? It's not enough to qualify and then you go there, maybe by luck or by, share Nigerian gara-gara, you win the cup. There has to be a system. And this is what has been lacking, not only in our football, but also in our sports. Now, this is an Olympic year. I'm sure many Nigerians do not know that Nigeria is not going to be in the Paris Olympics football final because we've been knocked out. But this is the same tournament that gave us perhaps our greatest international image. It was in Atlanta 96 that the world knew about Okocha, about Kanu Nwankwo, about the Babayaro brothers, about Emmanuel Amuneke, and you can go on, Victor Ikpeba and so forth. So we need to go back to the basics. Are we preparing for this year's Olympics? Where is the training camp? Where are the athletes? Nigeria was a powerhouse in track and field, sprints, Mary Onyale, Innocent Egbunike, Yusuf Ali. You could go on and on and on and on and on. But today, what is happening to athletics? Most times you hear anything, it is because a Nigerian athlete has failed a doping test or has been banned. Because these athletes are on their own. There is no structure, no proper policy backing their training and their preparation. Because in sports, competition is the last thing. The first thing is to be scouted. You have to be scouted. You have to be groomed. You have to be trained. Then you have to be exposed to on-competition, experiences. When last did the Super Eagles of Nigeria play one international friendly match of note? We have the MK Abiola Stadium, one of the best, rated among the top 10 in Africa. When last did any one of us go to that stadium to watch Super Eagles play? Or the Flying Eagles? Well, so these are the issues. It's not magic.
Mr. Ojugbana, on that note, well, let's just say we hope that in a year's time we will not meet again and be discussing the same issues. 2 years' time, let's hope we will not be discussing the same issues. 3 years' time, because these were the same issues we've been discussing virtually every year for how many years now? Well, anyway, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us on the morning.